Oh man, do you know where we're going, bro? We've been walking for quite some time, and I don't know this area.
I mean, it's a forest, I vaguely recognize that tree. It looks kind of similar to the ones we saw, maybe half an hour ago. I mean, we're fine. We're just in a forest. We don't need to know anything else.
I agree, dude. I agree. Hey, by the way, did you see the new Adventure Time series, Distant Lands? I've been trying to see it, and I know, I don't know, I've been hearing it's good. Is it actually good?
Yeah, dude, you have to see it. So good. Like, I can't believe you haven't seen it yet. It's got all the, well, there's 2 episodes out right now. The last one was Obsidian with Marceline, the Vampire Queen, and Princess Bubblegum. And man, their story is so cute. It's amazing. Why haven't you seen it yet, dude?
Honestly, I don't know.
Give me a sec. I just need to go take a leak, Nature calls and all that.
Speaking of it, there's a tree over there that looks like a nice one.
Oh, yeah, it does. Give me a sec. Zip.
Dude, do you see all the animals around this tree? There's quite a lot of animals around here. It's pretty interesting. But who's your favorite character in Distant Lands?
Oh my god, definitely Marceline, man. Olivia Olsen,
bro.
Absolute legend. I love that woman.
Dude.
She is the best. And Marceline, what a detailed, in-depth character.
Tree is,
she is so relatable. Yet
holy.
What?
I'm out of here, bro.
Hold on, give me a minute. There's a little bit. Oh yeah. Oh.
The ancient legends of the Kalos region speak about 2 legendary Pokemon who had powers like none other before. Their names were Xerneas and Yveltal, and what made their stories so great was their powers to resurrect the dead and feed off the living. But there is so much more to these legendary Pokemon than just their unique abilities. So much, in fact, that I have invited another Poketuber to make sure I talk about everything in this video. How you doing today, the 31st?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man, and I'm excited to jump into this. Can't thank you enough for being here. So without further ado, guys, let's jump in to the origin and complete story of Xerneas and Yveltal. Little is known about the true origins of the legendary Yveltal and Xerneas. It might even be safe to say that out of all legendary Pokemon, these 2 have the most scattered origin, because it's hard to pinpoint a true reason for their existence. However, there are some people in the Pokemon world who have their own assumptions about these 2 legendary Pokemon. For example, Professor Sycamore believes that these 2 Pokemon are incarnations of nature that take care of the land. But whatever these Pokemon were created to do, it's clear that without them, the Pokemon world would be extremely different than it is today. We were first introduced to Yveltal and Xerneas in the core series Pokemon games X and Y, with Xerneas and Yveltal being the box art Pokemon for obvious appearance reasons. The Pokemon Company seriously outdid themselves when creating the lore of these 2 Pokemon, but to completely understand everything about these Pokemon, we will have to travel back in time. Approximately 3,000 years ago, there was a war brewing in the Kalos region. We now refer to this war as the Great War, and although it's unknown what caused this Great War, the way it ended became a huge part of Pokemon history. Unfortunately, during this time period, many Pokemon were taken away from their trainers to be drafted into the war, which left many trainers unaware if they were ever going to see their beloved Pokemon again. Sadly enough, many Pokemon did die, but one of these drafted Pokemon who died changed the way this war would end. And I'm sure you're familiar with the story, but if not, I talked about it more in my Deoxys origin video, which you can find up top. The reason why we have traveled to this war 3,000 years back to learn about Yveltal and Xerneas is because these Pokemon were actually active in Kalos at the time of this war, and both had a major role in this battle. But I'm gonna let the 31st explain how we know these 2 Pokemon were alive during this Great War.
So, in Anastar City, in Pokemon X and Y, there is an old man who tells us the stories of the legendary Pokemon, Yveltal and Xerneas. He tells us that these Pokemon have a roughly 1,000-year lifespan. The dark Pokemon Yveltal has the power to steal the life energy of others, and when its 1,000-year lifespan is coming to an end, that's exactly what it does. Steals the life of other Pokemon to prolong its own, whereas Xerneas does the opposite. When its life is coming to an end, it will give its remaining life energy in order to spare the dying of the region. He also tells us about the Great War 3,000 years ago, an exceptional circumstance of terrible casualties. What he tells us is that Yveltal went round and stole the life energy of all the dying Pokemon, whereas Xerneas went round and gave its own energy to spare the wounded. However, like I said, this was an exceptional circumstance. It was a terrible war, death and destruction on a scale the world had never seen before, and that as a result, giving up so much of its life far earlier than it normally would, Xerneas was turned into a tree where it remains to this day, whereas Yveltal, consuming so much life energy more than it would normally be able to, was forced to go hide as a cocoon in the mountains. mountains. Now this is just my interpretation, but the way he tells it makes it sound like Xerneas becoming a tree and Yveltal cocooning itself were caused by the war. It's not normally how the Pokemon's life cycle goes. And he also says it as though those two Pokemon are trapped in those situations to this day. Those two being the legendary Pokemon that you encounter during the games of X and Y.
As the 31st said, Xerneas and Yveltal were trapped in these dormant states until 3,000 years later, in Pokemon X and Y, where they could be found once again being manipulated by Lysander in order to power up the ultimate weapon. This ultimate weapon is the weapon that ended the Great War 3,000 years ago, and the reason why Lysander wanted to power the weapon back up is because he believed its power is the only way to stop overpopulation in the Pokemon world. Now, as the 31st mentioned, these Pokemon were dormant for 3,000 years, but the old man from Anastar City also mentions that these two Pokemon came out of hiding and were spotted 800 years prior to Pokemon X and Y. So what's really going on here?
That obviously raises the question of where did the Xerneas and Yveltal from 800 years ago come into it? If the two from 3,000 years ago were still in that situation, which we see them in during the games, where did more Xerneas and Yveltal come from to carry on their regular life cycle 800 years ago? Personally, the way he describes them having lifespans, it does make me believe there are multiple Xerneas and Yveltal in the world of Pokemon, and that the reason there was a sighting 800 years ago while the 3,000-year-old ones were indisposed is because there are multiple at the same time. That they probably live together in small groups of 2 individuals maybe, like Sith Lords or snow leopards. Another interesting thing is the way it describes Xerneas' powers. It says that it spared the wounded, not that it revived the dead, which makes me question whether Xerneas has that power, whether it is capable of resurrection or only giving life energy to wounded Pokemon in order to revive them. And equally, Yveltal's story tells of it stealing life energy and Pokemon dropping, but it doesn't technically say that they die. So while these Pokemon are touted to have powers over life and death, it may not actually be the case. But at the end of the day, these are just stories told by an old man in a museum or something, right?
Now, there is no doubt that mystery surrounds the existence of Xerneas and Yveltal, but what's not a mystery is what they stand for, and that's eternity and destruction. But two powerful forces as these could not coexist without order, which happens to be represented by the Pokemon Zygarde. It is said that Zygarde comes to attack whenever the natural order of Xerneas and Yveltal are disrupted, which makes these Pokemon part of a trio. And it's not an official trio because we never got to see the game Pokemon Z, but it's the closest we can get to one, which is known throughout the Pokemon community as the Aura Trio. The Aura Trio gets its name because of the abilities these 3 Pokemon have, with Xerneas having the ability Fairy Aura, Yveltal having the ability Dark Aura, and Zygarde with the ability Aura Break. Zygarde's Aura Break inverts the effects of Fairy Aura and Dark Aura, instead of multiplying the power of Fairy or Dark type moves. If that doesn't give you a reason to believe these Pokemon are part of a trio, I don't know what will. And to further my case, Zygarde also looks over these Pokemon when they are in their dormant states, but I'm not going to go any deeper into this Pokemon because I would like to save it for my origin of Zygarde. If it's already out, there's definitely going to be a card on the top of the screen, but if not, don't forget to like and subscribe and keep bugging me about it because this Pokemon seriously needs an origin video. Now, before I jump into some deep mythology about Xerneas and Yveltal, I think it's worth noting that Xerneas actually has 2 forms, which are named Active and Neutral mode, with Active being the form you see when you look at it in battle, and Neutral being its regular out-of-battle appearance. If you have any understanding why this happens, please let me know. But it's my assumption that it was supposed to have a bigger meaning in the never-released Pokemon Z. Diving into the mythology of these Pokemon can be somewhat of a rabbit hole, so I will try to keep it as clear as possible. Although the lore of these 2 Pokemon have ties to many different legends, in my opinion, Xerneas and Yveltal are based closest to Norse mythology, which stems from Nordic peoples around 200 AD. This mythology has carried out far from that time, however, and can be found in reference in numerous outlets in our present day. Xerneas is based off of Xerneas, a stag which stands upon Valhalla in Norse mythology. Valhalla is a majestic hall where the dead warriors rest, and it closely resembles heaven. This makes Xerneas the gatekeeper of the heavens in Norse mythology. Xerneas also has the ability to grant life to dead beings. Xerneas is obviously the light in Norse mythology, whereas Yveltal closely resembles Hraesvelgr. Hraesvelgr is known as the corpse swallower and the judge of the dead. This deity also takes the form of an eagle and sits at the end of the world. I mean, Yveltal being a corpse swallower? You can't make this shit up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you the 31st for doing this video with me.
It is no... man. You love doing these things, man. You're very welcome. Thank you for having me on.
If you guys have not checked out his channel, please go check out his channel and subscribe, and don't forget to check some of our origin videos out. As always, Pokemon fans, take it easy and peace out. Make a turn. Subscribe.